Welcome to Veteran Resource Podcast, where you will meet nonprofit organizations focused on improving the lives of veterans and their family members. Here is your host, Jeremy Paris.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 76 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Paris. On today's episode, we have Joanna Sweatt from the Veterans Directory. And I can't remember if I said this in previous episodes, but when I was looking to provide a lot more value to you listeners for season 3, I was playing around with a lot of different ideas of what I could do. And one of the things that I was thinking about doing was to create an online directory of all of the organizations and different veteran resources so that we can have everything all in one place. And in my research, I came across the Veterans Directory, and I found out that they were already doing it. And they weren't just doing it, they were doing a great job of it. So this was recorded a little while ago, and Joanna is out in Arizona, a place that I love. I've got family out there. And so since this recording, I've actually been able to get out there, and I met up with Joanna, and I actually got to speak at one of Joanna's 4-block classes, and we talked about some more collaboration that we could be doing between the Veteran Resource Podcast and the Veterans Directory. And so basically, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm trying to push everybody who has an organization to make sure that they put their organization on the Veterans Directory list. It's absolutely free for nonprofit organizations. Get your organization on the list, and then that way we'll be able to find it more easily. And they're building that out so much in what it is that they're offering, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. So I really think that you're going to enjoy this episode and what Joanna has to say. So let me go over Joanna's bio real quick and we can jump into the interview. Joanna is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. She served as a field radio operator and as a recruiter. She served honorably from 1998 to 2007 and deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. Having to overcome her own transition obstacles, Joanna made the commitment to help other veterans transition more successfully. She became a well-known veteran advocate in the Arizona community with her previous work at ASU's Pat Tillman Veterans Center and her many involvements in the nonprofit volunteer space. She works tirelessly to help bridge the divide between transitioning veterans and the civilian community. She serves as a voluntary board member with ASU's veteran chapter of the Alumni S.E.E.4 Vets and the Arizona Veterans Court Mentor Project. She volunteers to help raise funds for the Marine Corps Scholarship Fund Arizona campaign, teaches career transition curriculum for 4block.org, and is a member of the Jarhead Professionals Group. All right, let's jump into the interview. Joanna, welcome to the Veteran Resource Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. I was looking through different organizations and I came across yours, and it really resonated with me because I was thinking about doing something similar, and I'm so happy that you have already jumped on it and you've got so much there for people to see. And so I want to kind of get into talking about what it is that the Veterans Directory is doing. Let's just start with just a quick overview of what is the Veterans Directory.
The Veterans Directory, in a nutshell, is an organization created by veterans, for veterans and supporters, to provide them a comprehensive directory of services. So basically, we want to create a modern and easy-to-use service directory that allows us to find the resources that we need at the right time. And I say that because there are a lot of great things going on out in the world as it relates to the veteran population, but it's only as good as if you know about it and if somebody's there right then and there to tell you about it. And so this takes the guesswork out of finding resources.
Yeah,
at least starting that.
I can completely relate to that. That's why I started this podcast in the first place, when I realized how many nonprofits were out there. And after being in the military for so long and then working with the Department of Defense after that, and hardly hearing about any of them before, without digging in and really looking for them, I just felt like most people getting out of the military don't know about these. And so, yeah, what you're doing and what I'm doing here with the podcast definitely relates to that pain point.
Absolutely. And I think it's great what you're doing.
Thank you. I think it's great what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
Joanna, we're going to get into a lot more about the Veterans Directory, but first, kind of wanted to dig in a little bit and find out more about you. So where did you grow up?
Well, I tell everybody I'm sort of an Air Force brat because my father, unlike my peers, was much older than everyone else that I grew up with. He was born in 1941. He's African American. He's from down south in Virginia. He's one of 12 children. And in the historical integration of the Air Force, he looked at that as his avenue of getting a career, contributing to growing equality in America. And so by the time I came around in 78, my father was nearing retirement. And so he actually retired in 1983, but then continued on in the capacity of civil service under the Air Force umbrella. So we still, changed duty stations frequently and moved around in that capacity, very much like a military brat. My mom is Korean from Korea. And so I also tell people I'm kind of half first generation American. And so that's kind of my background. I consider my hometown Sacramento, California, because that's where I spent the bulk of my adolescence. And I was also born out of a small town near there called Yuba City, California, near Beale Air Force Base.
Oh.
And I ended up in Arizona in 94 when my dad got stationed at Luke Air Force Base, again, as a civil servant for the Air Force.
You're in Arizona now?
Currently, yes.
I love Arizona. My two brothers and my father all live out there in the Tucson area.
Oh.
And I don't get out there enough. I need to get out there a lot more. I love it there.
Perfect. Well, let me know when you come, because down south isn't that far for us. Excellent.
Yeah, we'll have to connect and get some coffee.
Definitely.
So, aside from growing up with a parent who was in the military, you also went in the military, correct?
I did. I found myself on the Yellow Footprints at Parris Island in March of 1998.
Nice. And so, how long were you in the military?
I served from 1998 to 2007, so just shy of about 10 years. I started out a couple years after high school. I joined the Marine Corps for a lot of different reasons, but essentially just to kind of change the trajectory of my life. I became a teenage mom right after my senior year in high school, and so seemingly everything that I had worked for in high school was no longer at my disposal because I had somebody else to take care of. And I ended up at a recruiter's door, and really not because I had any intention of joining, but I kind of went with somebody who was going to join. And, that's how it happens.
I've heard so many stories of that. So many stories like that.
I ultimately became a recruiter for the Marine Corps, so I could give a lot of stories on that sentiment. But yes, it was haphazard. It was 1997 when I was exploring that, and when I joined the DEP. So, everything in the world seemed perfect, right?
Right.
No cars. And that's how I started my journey. And ironically, in order to join, since I had a baby, I had to do two things. I either had to give up the rights of my daughter to somebody, which I wasn't willing to do, or I had to get married and get a two-dependent waiver. And they said that option was best for me because I met all the higher level requirements. I had a high ASVAB score. I was female. I was ready to ship. And I had tested well in the ASVAB. I don't know if I said, and I was physically fit because I was an athlete in high school. So it just worked out, and they did approve that 2-dependent waiver in an instant and sent me on my way.
Oh, wow. And so you got out of the military, and when you did, I'm curious what your transition was like, because I know that when I went, it was, I don't know, confusing, I guess is the best way to put it. But you're going from, I was also in the military for 10 years, and coming out, the civilian world is a bit different. So I'm curious what your transition was like.
So I was married. By this time, I had 3 children. So I feel like I'm a responsible human being. And I'm listening to, my gunny. I was staff sergeant at the time. And I'm listening to a captain tell me, okay, you got to have your resume. You got to have a job before you get out. And luckily I had some time to plan because I didn't really want to leave this Marine Corps. I had to due to medical reasons. So while I was going through the board process, I actually had a little bit more time to at least apply for jobs. But that was it for transition, was just that you had to have a resume and that you apply for jobs, and whatever you get, you get. It wasn't there wasn't this whole focus on veterans anyway. In 2007, we were still in the thick of the war. Afghanistan was getting hotter.
Right.
And, it wasn't the right time. And so I just went into what seemed normal. I worked for the government. I'll go find a government job. And I ended up working for the city court system here in Arizona, which it wasn't bad, and I don't want anybody to take this as I'm bashing it, but I wasn't ready for that type of employment. And it was because, A, it's civilian government, not military government. B, that particular side of the industry was nothing. All of the employees were all women. First of all, I haven't even been around women very often or frequently, even in the Marine Corps, because we're very few and far in between.
Right.
And so that whole demographic was different and foreign, and I didn't feel like I belonged. And so I stuck out like a sore thumb. I was more abrasive. I think the women were afraid of me. And so I had no fulfillment. I'm at a job every day, just kind of doing it. But there was no fulfillment. There's no end goal. There's no accomplishment per se. It's just a job.
Right.
And I lasted there, I want to say, about 7 to 8 months. One of the judges that worked over me was a Navy veteran. And he was like, hey, girlfriend, I like you. You're a hard worker. You do great work. Nobody ever, complained about my work. But he was like, you're not happy. You don't belong here. Don't you have a GI Bill? Go to school. And I was like, I can't afford to just not work and go to school. And so he actually kind of married me up with another employee that started with me at the time. She was a military dependent. She had just graduated college. She knew all the ins and outs about financial aid that I had no concept of, because nobody in my family went to college. So the assumption was that if you weren't a straight A student and were offered a scholarship in high school, you don't even go to college.
Right. You just can't afford it. It's not even on your radar.
Exactly. And so once she explained that to me, and back then the post 9/11 GI Bill had not debuted. All I had was a Montgomery GI Bill, but she educated me on the Pell Grant, scholarships. So I went home, I talked to my husband about it. We took a leap of faith, and I quit that job and started my education at Arizona State University, which was amazing because I'll tell you, the time spent in academia allowed me to explore creativity, read more, which I wasn't reading much except for whatever was on the Commandant's reading list, and just really learn about what people were doing, what was kind of the pulse of the economy. It was just a really great experience for me, although at the same time, I didn't use to my best ability as using it as a great resource while I was there, because again, I put a label on myself. I said, okay, I have this opportunity to go to college because of my GI Bill and financial aid, But I'm 28, 29. I'm a non-traditional student. Anytime they sent emails about like even the career fairs or, support and things, I was like, well, that doesn't apply to me because I'm 29.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't even get involved. And then the year that I graduated, 2010, was, one of the United States' worst years ever.
Hmm.
Our economy had really took a dump, and a few years prior to that, and it was scary. I couldn't get a job anywhere with my degree. I had no network. I knew nobody except for the grocery store manager across the street from my house. And after not getting a call for so long, after I finally got my degree and was so happy because I'm first generation college grad, you think I'm going to make six figures right out the door. I don't know what I thought. It just, all these misconceptions. And then I ended up being a butcher. I was like, look, you just got to hook me up, veteran to veteran. I need a job. And they had an opening, and I took it. And to make kind of a long story short, I almost lost my hand. So 10 years in the Marine Corps, tour in Iraq during 2003, and the worst time ever to be in Iraq. I survive all that, and then I come home to be a butcher after getting a degree, and I nearly lose my hand in a bandsaw accident.
Wow.
Yeah, it was horrific. So that's why I say, when you say, how was your transition? It literally was a mess.
Well, there's a lot of things that I want to touch on in there, and it definitely sounds like it was a mess, and it also sounds extremely familiar. Because when I got out of the military, I got out in 2000, and so it was before 9/11. It was before anything crazy happened, and before they started tightening things down. But they pretty much showed me how to write a resume, which they showed me the wrong way, because when I started giving it out, everybody said, you need to, like, you've got no work here. You have no experience written down here. This is just like one page. I need to see your resume. And I was like, but they told me it had to be one page. They said, no, we want to, 5, 10 pages. We don't care. We just want to see everything, all of your experience. And so that was like the one thing that I took away from transition was, now I know how to do a resume. And that wasn't even right. But as far as like having people look forward and look at your future and try to figure out what your goals are and what you want out of life and the things that, the direction that you should be going, there was none of that. And I mean, like you, I went in the military. I was 17 years old when I went right out of high school. And so you go in as a kid and you're not thinking about, stuff that grownups are thinking about. And for the next 10 years, I have people telling me exactly what I should be doing. I know exactly how to do it because I could just grab a rag off of the shelf and read and know step by step how to do anything from, putting on your mop gear to how you should be walking. Like, you do everything by the book, and then you get out of the military and there's no instruction manual. There's nobody telling you what to do or how to do it. And you're just kind of left there alone trying to figure things out without any resources, if you will. And
absolutely.
And that I think that's a good segue into talking a little bit about the Veterans Directory now, because this is all about resources. And I'm curious, how did the Veterans Directory get its start?
So the Veterans Directory started long before I came on board. It was several years ago with getting anything off the ground. But basically, our founder, Tom Meeker, is also a Marine Corps veteran, Vietnam era, and he was attending a funeral of a peer veteran that was in the community. And while they were at the funeral, all of the other veterans kind of got together, and they were very solemn, and they were discussing all the different resources that were available to this man that could have prevented him from committing suicide. And they were like, why is it so hard to find these resources? Because then again, it's all about who you know and if you even know about them. And I know a lot of times, since I've worked in advocacy, people, when they're at distress and they do pick up the phone, a lot of times they may call the wrong place or the wrong entity. And then that's that point of contention that pushes them over the edge. And so they had the foresight to say, we need to get all this stuff gathered up. We need to vet the resources. We need to make sure they work. They do what they say they're doing, and they're not exploiting the population, but they're actually providing a service. And so they just got to work on that and the concept. And initially, I think it was just kind of going to be like a community yellow pages.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was just like, no, the product could be so much better. And so they applied for funding. They got it late last year at the same time that they got their 501c3 status. And then then they went to start building the website, and then they hired me in February. And I've been here since February, helping them drive this project and really get it out there to the public.
This seems like something that you would be a little bit more passionate about than being a butcher.
Oh, absolutely. So after I had 4 reconstructive hand surgeries, which I have a hand and a thumb, it's just not opposable anymore. I went to work for the Pat Tillman Veterans Center at Arizona State University. It just so happened
they're great.
Yes, that facility opened, not to be mistaken with a foundation. So this is an actual Veterans Resource Center embedded in the university at Arizona State.
Gotcha.
But they're partnered with the foundation, which is Pat Tillman's legacy from his wife, Marie.
Mm-hmm.
And there I grew my role in advocacy because I had had such hard times. And then now I'm in the academic environment, and my goal is to ensure that no other veteran has that academic experience that I have. And so I just started creating, anything that I could to engage my veteran students on campus. At the time, we're just about 1,200, about their right to a collegiate experience. SVA was really getting off the ground then too. And so an introductory to SVA, having the dialogue between the college and letting them know what parts of their resources work for veterans and what parts of their resources actually don't work based on their demographic information. And so I was really able to grow in that role, having been a veteran of the post 9/11 era and dealing with all those difficulties and exact change. And then I just kind of grew out of that role. And then now I'm here. And the directory works hand in hand with all the resources here in the Valley specifically, to ensure that we help veterans.
Excellent. And speaking of that, I was looking through the directory. There's more resources in there than just veteran-focused nonprofits. What types of resources could a listener find if they went to the directory?
Absolutely. So we divided all of our services basically by categories that we think that the veteran community is most engaged in. Of course, education, with the GI Bill being as robust as it is, legal assistance, because there are a lot of things that veterans need access to for legal support that they can't afford an actual attorney for. We have employment options with coaching and resumes, job listings, and education about voc rehab, health and wellness, financial assistance, housing. And then we have my favorite category on the website is called Veterans Community, because our whole goal is to empower the community and tell them to get involved. And so that's the category where we put all kinds of entertainment items, clubs, what's going on with the government, how to get involved in mentoring. We put service organizations there, travel, programs like Hilton Honors. And then we're developing a part of our site to support veteran-owned businesses.
Very nice. Very cool. There's a lot of those out there.
Yes. Very much.
And are all of these resources, are these just in your area, or are these around the country as well?
So because we are in Arizona and born out of Arizona, it's the bulk of our resources and our content has an Arizona scope.
Okay.
That's pretty high. but every national organization we find gets added to the directory. We don't have anything on the website that says it's not national and doesn't say that it's just state. And so that's because we want to be really meticulous with our growth. We want to make sure our product is the most amazing it can be to support the state of Arizona. And what I mean is through the other features we'll be adding to the website with educational content and pointing to, your direct services here, how to transition, that kind of stuff. But eventually it will be very nationally minded, where you could click on your state and get the content related to where you are at that time.
Excellent. That's great. And I also saw that you had different things on there with events and a very full calendar when I clicked on there.
Yes. And so because of that, we actually have a new calendar that's going to debut hopefully tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Where when you go to that page, you can pick a category. So if you go to our calendar right now, we try to have everything on every day for every month, because we want veterans, if they're in a space where they're like, I got to get out of the house, I need something to do, we want them to be able to come here and find something to do. And so now, instead of them kind of looking through each little icon and finding out what there is, it'll be categorized. So you can pick if you're looking for employment events, job fairs, if you're just looking for social activities, if you're looking for community. So it'll get even more robust as we move along.
That is great. That's outstanding. Looking forward to seeing the new calendar.
Yes, me too.
So as far as the directory goes, can they add things to the directory? How does that work?
Absolutely. They can go to our website at theveteransdirectory.org, and then there's an icon where they can submit a listing. And then basically it comes to us, and we have staff that evaluates the listing. They contact the org. They make sure the numbers and the links work. They make sure they're kind of doing what they say they're doing from a website perspective. Meaning some people have submitted organizations that on their website, it's like donate, 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 but there's no apply button. And then they don't tell you what they really do with that money other than that they're helping veterans. And so we always want to investigate that stuff, because we don't want to put anything on our directory that leads our veterans into something that's disempowering them or exploiting them or robbing them of funds.
Right. That's excellent.
And I just want to highlight real quickly the idea of the directory. The other part of it, which is really important now that it's created, is the duplicity that's going on in our community. So a lot of times everybody has the next great big idea. And because we don't know everything that exists out there, a lot of times people are recreating something that already exists, when instead they can see if that exists, go to those people with their new, fresh ideas, collaborate, help them be stronger, better. And then we don't have, 52 agents trying to do the same thing, fighting for the same donor dollars, when instead they can create a consortium or a conglomerate that can really support veterans on a larger scale. And so the other purpose the directory has is people can go to there to see what is going on overall nationally, what's missing, what do we have too much of, and where do we need more education. And I think that provides another, value added service that we didn't anticipate initially.
And that's funny that you bring that up. It's very ironic, in fact, that you bring that up, because I was planning on trying to provide more value for the Veteran Resource Podcast listeners, and I was looking at trying to create a directory of veteran resources. And then I come to find your organization, and I'm like, it's already being done. So rather than trying to do it again, I'm going to try to help you with your organization as much as I can. I'm going to try to get people to go and add their listing to your organization, because it makes more sense if you're already doing it for me to support you, and for the listeners to be able to find all of the resources through your organization. I don't think any one person or organization needs to say, come to us instead of going to them. We're doing it better than they are. When, just like you said, we can work together, we can collaborate and make it better for all of the veterans.
Teamwork to make the dream work.
That's right. Absolutely. And so what is on the horizon for the organization? What do you see in the future for the Veterans Directory?
We have this kind of running joke at work every day. We talk about being the Google for veterans in the near future. And it seems like a really lofty goal, but in the sense, we just want to be that place that you can access online and feel connected. See lingo that you identify with, see what's going on in your community, see all the positivity. That's the other thing. We really focus on the positivity. You don't see a lot of negative rhetoric or kind of the negative stories that are going on in the veteran community because negativity perpetuates negativity.
Absolutely.
So we're all about focusing on the positive. And so on the horizon is us just really growing in that media aspect and being everybody's biggest cheerleader and helping get your message out to the community so you can serve more veterans, and then also getting partners to help provide educational content to put on our website. So when you go to your taps, you don't have to worry about sucking all that down from the fire hose, because you're like, in the back of my mind, I'll just go to the directory and they'll tell me everywhere I need to go or access or who to talk to or how to find a mentor. And so we just really want it to be this really living, breathing thing. I mean, it's silly to say, even though it's on the website, but things have happened. Look at Facebook. Look what they have become. And so
right.
I just think it's that opportunity for us to really take care of our community through the website.
And just because it's on the website doesn't mean that it needs to stay on the website. I definitely foresee in your future that organizations are going to be using that and saying, hey, there's 25 of us here in the area. We should all get together and we should do one big thing, one big event, or have, a huge job fair or something along those lines, and bring it off of the web and in person. I could definitely see that happening.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to take our organization is not going to take sole credit for this, but since we kind of launched in May, and Arizona is a huge veteran-friendly state, there's a lot of synergy going on. We have 600,000 plus veterans living here just in the state alone, and there's a plethora of resources, and a lot of it was duplicated efforts, and people weren't working together or necessarily talking together. And we're already seeing a shift. There's a paradigm shift here in Arizona where, everybody's picking up the phone. They're collaborating. We're getting more events out to the public even, and we're getting the civilian community involved. And that is a vital piece to us transitioning, is that we need to stop perpetuating, you're a veteran, come over here and be in the veteran world, and then you'll be okay. No, that's a part of you, yes, but we've got to get you integrated into your community and how then you can service your community and be the best citizen you can be.
Yeah, and I've talked with a lot of different organizations that are really good at that. Team Red, White, and Blue, they incorporate lots of civilians and veterans together into one thing, and the mission continues. They do a lot of things like that, and there's so many of them out there that are but you're right. You're seeing it more and more now, that people are seeing that this is a vital piece of the puzzle. We don't want to bring all of the veterans together and have them be still segregated from the rest of the world. We want to bring the world together. And
Absolutely.
Those veterans have some incredible skills that when they bring them back to their community, they're able to be community leaders.
Exactly. Every veteran I've met just wants a sense of purpose.
That's exactly it. Yep. So I've got one more question before we get into the final three. This is definitely an awesome service that you're providing. How can the listeners out there help your organization?
All of your listeners can help. because we're not a one-man show, and we need the community to help us, especially as we increase our national focus. So I'm sure you have a national audience, so I would just empower them to go to the website, check it out, take our survey, see if organizations that they work with or like or have an affinity to are listed. And then if they aren't, go ahead and submit them. You can submit as a suggestion. You don't have to be a part of that organization.
Oh, cool.
Or if you want, you can just, send me an email. It's very simple, Joanna at theveteransdirectory.org. Tell me how you want to collaborate, and I'm open to anything. And then basically just getting the word out, finding our Facebook page, liking it and sharing it, and then just become part of what we call is our TVD Scout community. We need the community to help us so we can help the community.
Awesome. You hear that, listeners? Get out there and do what you can to help. All right, Joanna, we are ready for the final 3. Question number 1, who would you like to hear on a future episode of the Veteran Resource Podcast?
I don't know if you've had them on yet, but it would be 4block.org.
No, I have not.
So 4Block is an organization that I just recently got involved with. I am launching the first program here in Arizona, in Phoenix specifically, and it is a career readiness program through a nonprofit, 4Block, and they're graduates that have gone on to work for amazing companies. But it's just kind of that next level veteran career readiness. It really delves in. We bring in executive leadership. There's curriculum through Columbia University that the students go through online. And then they meet with me once a week for 10 weeks in person. We go over the content, help develop their professional, goals, and then introduce them to executive leadership, like I said, in the communities, mentors. And then we go out and do what's called immersion visits, where companies bring my class in and really teach them about the culture of the company, all the different opportunities for employment, what their company culture is, and just basically how they support veterans. So it's really this opportunity, like we said, much like the directory is trying to do, in bringing the civilian workforce community in with our veteran student population and having an engagement that's just a little bit different than, SVA or kind of a boots to suits. It's more about putting them in, that environment that they want to be in and helping them leverage their goals.
That sounds like it would be a great opportunity for not just the veterans, but for the organizations and the companies that you're meeting with as well.
Oh, yes. It marries all the elements that we need to help with corporate transition. And Mike Abrams is an amazing guy. They're out of New York. They have classes in Seattle, San Francisco, DC, New York, Phoenix now. I think there's a Houston launching soon and somewhere in Florida. I can't recall. But it's expanding and they're growing and they're doing amazing things. So I think they would be great on your podcast.
Awesome. I have their name written down and I'm going to be reaching out for sure.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay. Question number 2. What upcoming project has you fired up right now?
So the project that has me fired up right now on my personal life is just finding out whom I'm going to be without raising children, because me and my husband are becoming empty nesters. And so we're looking for new hobbies. So if anybody has any suggestions, let me know. And then for work, it's just the growth potential. For instance, we're looking forward to highlighting the Veteran Resource Podcast. We want to get more community partners and experts to come in and create blogs and really make it a foundational tool for all veterans to access, no matter where they are in their veteran status or even on their active duty status, to explore what it will be like to be a veteran. But just really making the website as robust as possible so that it can just really exact a change in our community.
Awesome. Excellent. And now for the brain stretcher. If you woke up tomorrow and you found out that somebody made an anonymous donation of $10 million to your organization, what would you do with it?
Oh my gosh. So my CEO used to come from the finance world. So I think my first answer has to be endow it. I listen sometimes, but just to make sure that that money never runs out. And then when you endow it, you provide an opportunity to probably become more of a foundation status so that you can share the wealth. I mean, no, I don't think any organization needs $10 million. It would be a great donation to us, but at TVD, we'd be happy to share the wealth and trickle it down.
That sounds
kind
awesome.
Of our motto. Yeah.
Yeah, that is great. And it really shows what it is you're doing with the directory, with bringing everybody together, that your answer would encompass that as well.
Yeah, nothing is about us. Everything is about the community.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joanna, for being on. I really hope that there's somebody out there who has money that they want to donate to your organization to help out. Maybe not $10 million, but some money. And for that person or for anybody else who would like to donate, how can they get in touch with you?
Very easily. They can access the website. We do have a PayPal donate feature on there. They can email me directly and contact me about that gift giving. And then if there's any veteran-owned businesses out there that want to have their business listed through the directory, we have an introductory rate for a year at $250. And we're just really excited to grow the website. And so I'm open to any dialogue, any communication from everyone.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Joanna. I found out so much about the Veterans Directory, and I'm really looking forward to trying to get the word out and get a lot more resources added to it from around the country and try to get a lot more veterans plugging into it on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 76. As always, make sure you go and check out the show notes. You can get to them by going to veteranresourcepodcast.com/076. And you can find out more information about Joanna and get plugged into the Veterans Directory. If you have an organization or you're part of another organization, go and check out the directory and make sure that the organization is on the directory. And if it's not, submit so that it can be. And if you are a veteran-owned business, you might want to think about joining and getting on the directory yourself as well. I love the idea of having a one-stop shop, one place that I can go to find all of the resources that I need as a veteran. So let's come together and make this thing work for all of us. That's all I have for you today, but make sure you come back tomorrow and listen to tomorrow's episode, because we've got Gene South on, who's going to be telling us how we can optimize our chances for employment. So make sure you tune in. See you tomorrow.